Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Today on Milanese Math, we are going to do a broad introduction to percentages. And as always, if you want to follow along with the worksheet that we're using, you can find it at the first link in the description below. So we're going to cover a lot of ground in this video. We're going to be showing a lot of different classic percentage type problems. So if you're trying to figure out how to do your homework, chances are somewhere in here is going to be an example like what you're doing. So first of all, let's just define what is a percent. I like to think of it as parts per 100. Okay, parts per 100. Sometimes you'll see it written as part out of a whole times 100. Okay, so that's just kind of a rough definition of percents, and let's use that to kind of answer some pretty typical questions involving percentages. So the first thing they could ask you to do is convert it to a fraction. So they'll give you a percentage and they want it as a fraction. Well, this is super easy. All you got to do, like on number 1 where it says 38%, is just put it over 100 because it's parts per 100. So 38 out of 100. Now, in this specific example, that will reduce because both of those are divisible by 2. So I would call that 19 over 50. And that's it. Just put it over 100 and check to see if it reduces. So for example, number 2, 71%. Well, that's 71 parts out of 100. So 71 over 100, and that does not reduce. So we're finished. How about number 3? We could do 150%. So that's 150 out of 100. And that will simplify. Both of the numerator and denominator are divisible by 50. So that would simplify to 3 halves. Or if you feel like it, you could rewrite it as 1 1/2. Okay, so pretty simple. If they ask you to convert it to a fraction, just put it over 100 and check to see if it simplifies. I would go ahead and pause the video and you try numbers 4 and 5. Okay, now let's take a look at one kind of similar to that, but they're now asking us to convert it to a decimal. Well, this is also pretty easy. 38% as a decimal, all you have to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So right now it was right there. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So now it would be 0.38. So 38% as a decimal is 0.38. And sometimes people write it as 0.38. You can do that if it makes you feel better. Okay, 71%. What would that look like as a decimal? Well, just move it 2 places to the left. So instead of 71, it would be 0.71. Okay, let's look at 150%. Again, just move it 2 places. Right now it's here after the 0, and so if I move it 2 places, 1, 2, now it would be 1.5 or 1.50 if you want to. Okay, so if they ask you, they give you a percentage and they want you to change it to a decimal, all you have to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the left. I would go ahead and pause the video, see if you can do numbers 9 and 10. Okay, and then let's take a look at ones like this where they give you the decimal and they want you to convert it to a percentage. Well, this is just doing the same type of problem but backwards, right? So if they give you the decimal, just move the decimal point 2 places to the right and you'll have it as a percentage. So 0.94 turns into 94%. Okay, 0.15 turns into 15%. And 3.94 turns into 394%. Okay, so if they give you a decimal and they want it as a percentage, just move the decimal point 2 places to the right, slap a percent sign on the end, and you're done. So with that in mind, go ahead and try numbers 14 and 15. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. This is probably, if you clicked on this video, unless you're one of my students, if you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to figure out ones like this. So there's 2 kind of formulas I guess we could use. This first one is what we're going to use on these questions. So they are going to ask us to solve for the part, and they're going to give us the percentage and the whole number itself. So in other words, like look at number 16, it says, what is 25% of 600? They want to know what would that part be if you took 25% of the whole number 600, and it couldn't be easier. All you have to do is multiply the percent times the whole. So let's take 25% in its decimal form. So I want to call that 0.25 and then just multiply it times the whole number. times 600. So you can grab a calculator or however you want to do this. You could do it mentally if you want, but 0.25 times 600 is 150. So the part of the number that you get when you take 25% of 600 is 150. Okay. Number 17 is just like that. So they want to find out what is 66% of 38. Well, take that percentage in its decimal form, so 0.66, and just multiply it by 38. And again, you can use a calculator to help you with this. That works out to 25.08. So 66% of 38 is 25.08. Okay, what about one like number 18, 144% of 19? Well, same thing, just take the decimal form of 144%, which would be 1.44, and multiply that times 19. And that comes out to 27.36. Okay, so if they want you to find the percentage of a number, just write down that percent as a decimal and multiply it by the whole number. That's what you're going to need to solve numbers 19 and 20. So go ahead and pause the video and try those. Okay, then number 21 is now going to start using this second formula that we have here, which is where they want you to solve for the whole. In other words, working backwards. So they're going to give you part of it and a percentage. And all you have to do is divide those two numbers. Let me show you what I mean. So they say 52 is 38% of what number? In other words, what number would you start with and then take 38% of it and get 52? And all you have to do is divide. So I'm going to take the part that they gave me, which is 52, and I'm going to divide it by 38%. Again, use the decimal form of that percentage, so 0.38. And again, you can just grab a calculator. 52 divided by 0.38 is 136.84. Okay? So remember, if they're asking for a percentage of a number, you use the first formula that we gave, where you multiply them. If they give you the part and the percentage, you got to use the second formula. So let's look at number 22. 2,553 is 11% of what number, of what whole number? Well, they give you the part, it's 2,553, and they give you the percentage. So we can just divide those. And again, divide the decimal form of 11%, which would be 0.11. Okay? And so if we divide those out, we're going to get 23,209.09. Okay? All right, let's do one more kind of like that. Number 23 says 60 is 125% of what number? Okay, well, they gave us a part, that's 60, and we're going to divide that by the percentage, which the decimal form of that would be 1.25. And if we divide that out, we're going to get 48. So 60 is 125% of 48. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video again. Try numbers 24, 25, and 26. All right, now this is a pretty classic question. It's about a percent increase or decrease. You see this all the time in the real world where there'll be, I don't know, let's say like a pair of jeans and they go from this price down to this price, and what percent off is that? Or maybe they'll have you work backwards and they'll say, here's the original price of the jeans and it's X percentage off, and you have to figure out what the new price is. Okay, so the way I like to look at it is to find the difference, so that I'm using this little formula right here. Find the difference between the two numbers and then compare it to the original, divide it by the original, and then multiply it by 100 to get it as a percentage. So let's take the jeans example. Let's say the jeans went from $40 up to $50, okay? So what would be that percent increase? Well, the first thing I need to do is find the difference between 40 and 50. How much of a difference is there? Well, there's 10, right? The difference between 40 and 50, if you take 50, subtract 40, you get 10. And then divide that by the original price of the jeans. In this case, it was $40 originally. And then the formula calls for us to then multiply that by 100, okay? So if we do 10 divided by 40 and multiply it by 100, we're gonna get 25%, Okay, so in other words, in that situation, if the jeans went from $40 to $50, they increased by 25%. Don't get that confused with essentially the opposite of that. Look at number 28. Now let's pretend that the jeans were $50 and they dropped in price to $40. It's really easy to say, oh, well, it's a 25% decrease, because just like number 27 was a 25% increase, this is a 25% decrease, and it's not quite the same. And here's why. Let's do the same formula, right? Let's find the difference. The difference between 50 and 40 is still 10, but the original amount that goes in the denominator isn't 40. In this example, it's 50, because they went from $50. Okay? And then don't forget to multiply by 100 to get it as a percentage. So in this case, if we do 10 divided by 50 times 100, that's going to come out to 20, or in this case, 20%. So in other words, if you look at number 27, if the jeans went from 40 to 50, they've increased by 25%. But if they went down from 50 to 40, even though that difference is still $10, it's out of a larger amount. So it's actually only a 20% decrease in price. Okay, so let's use that same concept though to do number 29. If something went from 76 to 94, that's obviously an increase. So let's draw our fraction bar. And what is the difference between 76 and 94? You can do this with mental math or grab a calculator, but if you subtract those two numbers, you're gonna get 18. Okay, well, what number goes in the denominator in the bottom? Well, it's the original number, which in this example was 76. And then of course, to get it as a percentage, you always need to multiply by 100. So 18 divided by 76 times 100 is 23.68. And don't forget to call that a percent. Okay, let's look at the same thing happens with some really big numbers. Let's say this is, I don't know, the price of a house or something went from $200,000 and then the sellers decrease it to $194,000. What percentage off is that, or by what percentage did it decrease? Well, the formula is the same. What's the difference between those two numbers? If you subtract them, it would be 6,000. And we need to divide that by the original amount, which was 200,000. And then of course, multiply that by 100. And if you grab your calculators and multiply that out, that is 3%. So 3% decrease might not seem like a lot, but when the numbers are that big, that's a $6,000 savings. That's 3% actually turns out to be a huge amount of money. So this was just a quick refresher and crash course into some basic things that you could do with percentages. Hopefully this video was helpful, and if it was, consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.